Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Phoenix Ilu. She is a healer, systems thinker, and spiritual guide. And she believes in grounding and merging energy work, bionetics, biomagnetic pair therapy, and other healing practices. Welcome to the show, Phoenix.
Hi, thank you.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Phoenix. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about healing beyond boundaries. But before this, let's learn a bit more about you, about your journey, about your background, Phoenix, so that people know more about you.
Yeah, so I actually started about when I was 16, so almost 15 years ago now. And what started me off in my journey was that the town next to where I grew up was a metaphysical shop. And so I started going into the shop and just learning about the different modalities that they had there. And after a few months, I had an encounter with one of my past lives. I was doing laundry in my parents' basement and ended up like right when I closed the door of the dryer, there was a girl standing in front of me. She was completely in white and like shining this radiating energy. And I just got so excited and I started rushing through all of my poetry, going back and forth from this metaphysical shop called the Moon Dragon, and just like trying to figure out like, who is this? What happened? And so I learned that my previous life was actually in the 1920s in Berlin. And my name at that time was Dahlia. Years later, I ended up taking German for 4 years. I fell in love with it. I got to visit Germany, and I was having dreams of basically speaking full German. So as if English had never been a language of mine. So all of that really got me started in learning about hypnotherapy, getting sessions, doing Vipassana meditation, learning all these different modalities for rituals and ceremonies and things like that. And eventually, a few years after that happened, I started learning Reiki. And so it took me about 3 years to go through all of my Reiki classes, but I've been a master for almost 11 years now. And so what I do is I'm a seer. So I see everything is visual for me when I work in somebody's energy field. I see their guides. I have a lot of different sensory things that come up: sight, sound, smell, feelings through my body. And a lot of times I'll get these really intense images that come through of somebody's energy moving or releasing in a certain way. So through all of these practices that I've learned in the last 14 years, which are things like theta healing and, deeper into hypnotherapy and meditation, breath work. I've studied Tantra. I've studied all sorts of scientific modalities like the biomagnetic pair therapy and bionetics. And so this combination of all of these things, and I've taught myself human design over the last few years, that has really allowed me to open up a space within my own practice, which I've termed neurolooping. So when I go into somebody's energy field, I actually begin looping the energy through their neurology and through their brain system, and then allowing it to kind of act like a waterfall and begin moving down through the body. And so I have all these different techniques that I use to release energy, move energy, and just allow a person to really shift into a state of relaxation and like transforming their trauma, essentially.
Right, Phoenix. So, through all these things, related to mostly energy, what is it that you try to do? What is it that you do for your clients?
So I right now am shifting towards spiritual guidance and spiritual integration as a coaching, like a coaching platform. And essentially, I want to help people navigate learning about energy work, being able to visualize what energy is, where it's moving, how to work within it, and then also to be able to name what their own ability is. And so I want to be able to do that with people through all these different forms of healing: the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. For me personally, I've healed like really severe mold poisoning, chemical poisoning, parasites, all sorts of things. And I've done this without pharmaceutical intervention. So I want to be able to give people the keys and the tools and the resources necessary for understanding how to heal these different aspects and areas of their fragmented self, and then begin to really integrate into who is the person that you want to embody, and how do you begin to move forward in your life, in your career, in your family, in your relationships, things like that. So, really, just giving people the ability to be able to transform in the ways that they want to, and understanding how to get there.
Right, right. So, what role does energy play? You talked about moving energy. You talked about, different type of energies people have around them. You talked about the fragmented self. How do you put all these things together? And is it the right thing? People want so many things, but they may not be always the right thing to do. So how do you bring all the right things to them, not the wrong things for them? And can you do the wrong things for them, or will it be always right? Because universe always looks at what is good for you.
Yeah, I do believe that the universe looks out for our best interest. The way that I teach energy work as a healer is that I'm not actually doing any of the healing per se. That the person that's working with me is doing the healing. So my job is to create a frequency and energy around myself that allows that person to then make the choice to step into that space and begin to heal. And so when it comes to energy work and utilizing tools, I have this whole set of different tools that allow somebody to be able to see the way that energy is moving, understand how to work within it. And a lot of that in the beginning stages tends to be meditation, visualization, and being able to really go into the parts of ourselves that we haven't really spent a lot of time looking at. So one of the tricks that I use is, especially with like childhood experiences and oftentimes childhood trauma, is going in and looking at what is the narrative that you're telling in your life? What's the story? And is there a time that you can go back to when this narrative began to become very real for you? And so oftentimes what I do with my clients is I'll bring them into that part of their story from their past and write down all of the details. So for me personally, I had a narrative as a child of wanting to save people, wanting to save my parents, wanting to save the people in my family, right? And then this narrative played out in recurring detail throughout my life, where I constantly was in a position of wanting to save the people around me. And so being able to look at that narrative and go back and be able to pull out, okay, here's a fragment of myself that I need to work with, that I need to heal. And then you place that in the form of these meditations and visualizations, and understanding how energy streams are moving through the meridian points, through the body. That allows somebody to then take that fragmented part of you and begin to integrate it back in. Okay, so you start to look at, where is it stuck in my body? And say it's stuck in my heart, right? And so in that heart space, then there's this, okay, how do I go in and begin to feel my way through this energy stream? And so then you take a visualization like a river running down a stream, and you start to look at, okay, I could visualize like all of these parts of me that wanted to save somebody are like these big tree roots, trees that have fallen into the river. And you begin to, in your mind, like move them around. And so you allow that energy stream to move. And so through different techniques that I've developed, I actually teach people ways that they can move through that energy, that they can break things down, pull things out of them, release, cut cords, things like that. So it's a lot that goes into wanting to work with yourself first, and then eventually over time you begin to transfer that to working with other people. And what happens is there's this mirror effect that begins to occur, where when you start to work with others, you start to see parts of yourself that you haven't quite gotten to yet. And so it kind of creates this feedback loop where you begin to see areas that, okay, in my time when I'm alone, this is where I need to work on these parts of myself. And then when I'm out in the world, I can work on the parts that I've already worked on, but in a completely new way.
Right. So, what is it that your clients, generally ask of you? And secondly, how do you know? You know so many things, bionetics, biomagnetic pair therapy, also all the energy work. So, how do you know which one is the right one, the best one for them?
So I often recommend both bionetics and biomagnetic pair therapy because of its ability to really test different things that are going on in the body. Oftentimes we will experience like depression or anxiety or some form of mental illness, and really it's a parasite that's going on, right? So, what I tend to do with my clients is recommend people to get the biomagnetic pair therapy, which I am going to start training for soon, so I can offer that to my clients. But the biomagnetics will, excuse me, be able to clear various parts of like fungus, mold, chemicals, parasites, all, all these different things that are going on in the body that's causing pain and discomfort and suffering. Bionetics, well, I should back up a little. So the biomagnetic pair therapy uses magnet pairs, and it's placed on the body in different locations. And what it does is it rebalances the pH levels of the body. So it puts your body's ability to neutralize these different things that are going on, and just it gives it the capability to flush it all out. The bionetics is also incredible because it uses a specific machine that tests the acupuncture points, the meridian points in the fingers and the toes. And so you can test stress levels of your organs, you can test which foods are better for you, which ones aren't, things like that. So both of these modalities give a much more scientific approach to what may be going on in the body. And so I often recommend those first as a way to really clear out anything that might be going on. And then afterwards, we step into more of the energy work, because if you have, say, like mold poisoning going on, your ability to hold energy in your body is going to be greatly reduced, very diminished from, say, somebody who has never experienced mold poisoning. And so if you're trying to step into an energy work, an energy field first, and you have all these other things going on, that's going to keep you from being able to really understand what it is that we're working with when we're in the energetic field. So once my clients are much more cleared physically, getting a regular diet, getting regular sleep, exercise, and all of those things, then we can really start working on things like cognitive therapies and like understanding energy work in the form of even just talking to yourself in the mirror or writing out your greatest desires and being able to really spend time focusing on them. And so that's what I'm really looking for, is can people take the time necessary to focus on the things that they want. And from there, we begin to move more towards, okay, let's actually work with energy. What are you experiencing in your auric field? What are you experiencing when you move up into the cosmic realm versus when you're moving down into the earth realm and areas like that. So, yeah, so I really try to take my clients through a process of like, let's get all of these toxins figured out first. Then let's get your mind on track, your emotions more stable, emotional regulation. And then can we move towards being able to work with energy with the hopes that you'll be able to work with that energy with other people? And all of this is really done from the lens that everybody is unique. And so I study human design because I want to give people an understanding of, well, what is your design? What's your unique purpose, potential, and reason for being here? And how can we use these tools and techniques to develop that unique potential?
Right, right, Phoenix. So people generally say this person has bad vibration, not so good vibration, negative energy. What does that mean? And can that be changed around them?
Yeah, so everybody carries negative and positive within them. First off, that's the main thing. Second off, there's oftentimes where we will experience somebody's energy and it'll affect us in a way that we perceive as negative. And so, from that lens, that's where I tend to look at, well, what is your narrative? What's your story? And how is that coloring the whole rest of your life? Are there things that we can find out? And so it's really about understanding negative energy is really about being able to understand how to make the shift from being in like a like I don't want to be around this state to very curious, like, is there something that I can learn from this? And that doesn't always translate. Like, there are absolutely very abusive situations, there's traumatic experiences people have. There's a lot of reasons for why we need to keep ourselves safe. In terms of energy, though, it's being able to understand that your vibration, your energy is yours alone. And we can never actually affect another person's energy unless they are choosing to be affected by it. And so oftentimes when people experience negative energy, it tends to be that they are allowing themselves to move into that, to match that frequency, to match that vibration where they're in a negative energy state. And that energy state is something that I tend to work with my clients a lot on, is understanding how to regulate yourself in those moments, because it's, part of it is understanding, well, what's my narrative? Am I coloring this perspective with something that's me? And then the other part of it is, like I said, being curious, being able to find out, well, is this person really affecting me negatively, or is something just going on in their life? And can I be of service in some way to help them move through that? And so it's a lot of it is discernment and being able to tell, like, are you in a safe space within your mind, within your body, and within your environment that can allow you to potentially be a bridge for somebody else and help transform their day? Sometimes that bridge can be as simple as a smile for somebody, or a wave or a handshake. And sometimes it can be even greater. Like, I've had people come up to me on the street. My first impression is like, oh, like, who is this person? I don't know if I really like their energy that they're giving off, their vibe. And then I'll get curious about it and I just start asking them about their day and about who they are and what's going on. And it opens up people. It allows them the kind of freedom to feel, well, maybe I'm not as alone in this moment and somebody is willing to talk to me. And that can be a very, very transformative experience for somebody. So I do believe that there's negative energy in the world. I don't necessarily feel that we always have to subject ourselves to experiencing it, and that there are ways to be able to move through it. Most of those ways involve just being confident in yourself and what you have to offer, and allowing other people to step into that vibration.
Right, right, Phoenix. You talked about your past life. And so that is why my question is that, do we carry our energies from one birth to another, one life to another? Does it happen that way? Or we acquire fresh energy every time?
So we do acquire fresh energy every time because every body that we go into is a whole new experience. It's a whole new design, right? And all sorts of different codons and DNAs. I do believe that energy can come with us. I know I've personally experienced moments where other lives of mine have come through me, and I've had a repeat of a pattern or a thought or something like that. On a deeper level, what I find interesting is that past lives aren't so past, right? Because time is all over, and the past and the future is here and now. And so oftentimes what I try to do is change the way that I'm thinking about the past, instead of seeing it as something that was, seeing it as this is what's happening now. And in that way, I can begin to interact with those parts of myself as if it's looking at me when I was four, right? Or 4 or 5 or something like that. It's the same thing. You're able to transform your present moment and your past and your future all at the same time, just through awareness and presence and working with those things. So I use past life as a kind of like a tense in a way, because it allows me to be able to talk about it, but at the same time, I'm experiencing it now. So in that way, yeah, I do think that energy can transfer, right? Because nothing can be created or destroyed, but instead transferred. And through the transfer of energy, we can choose to go into those vibrations consciously or unconsciously, where we're re-experiencing different hurts and different things. And in that, I also believe that we make contracts with other souls and with other beings in the universe. And sometimes those contracts can be something that you're trying to transform from a previous life that you've had with them. I know I'm personally am transforming a lot of relationships in my life that I have memories of from other lifetimes that I've been in. And so, because the soul is can't be destroyed, it's eternal, but the earthly form, that comes and goes. And so I think that there's a lot of times where energy will come through and it will remind me of that part of me, and I just have to, like a parent to myself, have to go in and kind of reprogram some of those things that come through death or pain or trauma, right? And be able to work with it in the present so that it no longer affects me.
Absolutely. There is much to learn about these things from you, Phoenix, and I'm sure a lot of people would like to connect with you, learn more about these things, be your client, and get all the services that you provide. So, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
So I am Integration Illuminated on Instagram, and I just made a TikTok for it the other day. And I have a Facebook group, but I should be making a page pretty soon here. My website is integrationilluminated.carrd.co. I'm still trying to work on getting a domain, so hopefully it'll just be a .com soon. But yeah, so people can connect with me through my website, through social media, and I'm still getting a group coaching program put together, some mini courses to launch, and more content put out. So yeah, please reach out to me. I would love to work with you and be able to divulge more secrets of all of this. So yeah, thank you.
this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Hmm.